welcome again to another episode of Footsteps in a Foreign Land. And here today we have Jide, who is a cybersecurity consultant, and I've been in Germany for I think since 2015. And on this episode, we're actually gonna put it in like a father's perspective. Yeah. So I think I'll start with this. Hey Olajide, so tell me, also the downside about being in Germany as a family man.
Well, thank you for having me, first and foremost, on the podcast. Really nice to be here. Well, it's the tough question to start off with. When we're talking about downsides regarding being a father here in Germany, uh, it's a mix of what the social the social issues and also the focus on the academics of the children, because apparently, there seems to be like some sort of stigma when the kids are in school, and because we as parents cannot be there with the kids every single second of their day. We have to make sure that we at least get as much as possible a perspective of what they are going through, what their everyday life is like. And when it comes down to it, you realize that the kids are experiencing quite a lot of things. Like, for example, they are being segregated. There are subtle biases against them, and these are things that you, as a parent, have to come to terms with. That these are things that will happen. You have to find a way to discuss these issues with your kids in a way where it doesn't aggravate them, but it helps them understand what is going on, why that is happening, and how to address it. And of course, also understand the fact that you, as their parent, you will always be there for them. You will always fight for them. And it's not just about talking about it, you have to act it out, which means you have to go to the school, you have to show up at meetings, you have to talk to the teachers, you have to let them know the plan that you have for your kids. For example, I would, you know, go to the teacher and tell the teacher, this is the map, this is the roadmap that my wife and I, have for our kids. Academically, do you think that he's capable of doing that? I know that he is, so I need you to confirm that. They would, of course, confirm that, and then you need to tell them this is the roadmap. If there are any issues that you think this child has, you need to discuss it with me. Do not take it out on the child. These are things that you need to be upfront about, and you need to make a conscious effort to address them. So yeah, it's not easy being a father in Germany. You need to acknowledge some of the issues and be ready to face them head on.
Okay. So I know you actually did your master's here and you came
Yes.
here, your family was still back home.
Yes.
So how did you like cope, like studying, your family still being back home, the communication? It's more like a long distance marriage, I would say,
Yeah,
initially.
exactly. It's quite funny because I think we were just 3 years, which we're just 3 years in marriage when I left. And to answer the question directly, the way I was able to cope was based on the mindset that I had before leaving Nigeria. Um, I never thought of leaving Nigeria. Immediately I had a family. I had already started putting things in place regarding how the kind of life I wanted my family to have, the kind of lifestyle I wanted my child to have, the kind of school. Thought everything out, like we say, plan everything out, right? But then I started seeing that some of these things were not going to be, at least not going to be easy to achieve, right? Um, Considering the economic situations and how things were going. So we made the conscious decision that, okay, we would um, try somewhere else for greener pastures. And the easiest route was through education, which was master's program. So it wasn't like I wanted to get a master's degree. No, I was quite okay where I was with my bachelor degree. But I was looking at the fact that, what would my kids, what pedestal would they have to start off from? um, you know, that was the key thing. So that kind of stuck in that I got that stuck in my mind. So every time I was going through any hard time, any difficult time, any issues whatsoever, I would think about that and you know convince myself again and again that this is for the kids. This is, I'm doing this for the good of my kids, making sure that they are at the same level, with kids internationally. That way, at least they do not have to start from rock bottom. They're already one step up. Because I remember while I was growing up, I had the opportunity to write SAT. I did not even know what SAT was back then.
I don't know, what is it?
Okay, so it's like this standardized examination that you do to get admission into the universities in the US. So back then, if you get above a certain score, you get like 100% scholarship, 70% scholarship. So, I did not know anything about it, but apparently I had friends that wanted to do it. Their parents were rich. They were bringing questions to me, and I had not seen questions like that before, but I could solve them. So when, it got to a point, they started asking, why don't you take SAT? I was like, what is SAT? They explained it to me. And then they told me that I needed an international passport to write the exam. Well, nobody in my family had an international passport, so it wasn't like I was going to go ask my dad that I needed international. There was no money to do all of that. So, that kind of stuck in my mind, as I kept growing up, going through life, going through university and all of that. That was a big lesson for me. Also, there was this time during my university years, I applied for an internship at a company, and then I got there. My brother's friend, kind of submitted my name and told me to go there. I got there, and I was the only student from a state university. Everybody else came from private universities.
Okay.
And the person that was accepting the CVs was like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. I felt really, really small that day because during the interview, the interviewer didn't spend more than 2 minutes with me. He just told me, don't worry, just go. So those things got stuck in my mind. And I just felt like I didn't want a situation where my kids will have to at least go through that if it's possible to avoid things like this. Of course, it's not like there's anything, I'm not going to be following them around, but if you place them at a certain pedestal or at a level where they can start from, maybe they do not have to start from point one. They can start off from the second or the third point. So those were some of the experiences that informed the decision to come to Germany, basically for the child, for our children. And that was what I kept in my mind. That was what really kind of like gave me the strength to go on, despite the fact that it was hard being away from the family, having to wait for an entire school year before I can go back and see them. And also, to make matters worse, back then, my wife was pregnant when I left Nigeria. So it was quite tough for me. So, you have to put the woman into consideration also, put her in the family way, and then you leaving her with a child and a pregnancy to cater for. So mentally it was a lot, but, that's what being mentally strong is there for. And also, not just for myself, but also to encourage her, to tell her that everything's going to be okay.
But I think you've been here since 2015. So
Yes.
at what point did you feel comfortable enough to like bring your family to join you?
Well, that's the funny thing, because I thought I was comfortable enough from the very first day. I wanted to bring everybody along, and then I got there, and and it was a different story. I thought, okay, 6 months max. Okay. And then the first year went by, the second year went by, and then getting visas and all of that became a big issue. Finishing your master's studies, trying to find a job. Oh, well, that's a different kettle of fish in itself. And you start looking at all kinds of scenarios. How you came here to try and prepare the ground, so to speak, for the family, but then it's looking like the ground is really hard. It's so hard. You don't want them to come land here. This kind of, you want to prepare soft landing for them. So, but I guess everything worked out, and as soon as I was able to get a job, I had not even gotten an apartment before I booked their flight tickets, and I was ready, so ready to have my family together with me, and of course, bring them in, let them come experience a new lifestyle, a new culture, and everything.
So what were the biggest challenges for your family, or for you as a family then here, to adjust to the situation and the lifestyle here?
Well, the funny thing is, for the kids, I don't think they really understand the changes. They know that, oh, they're in a new space. They know that they're in a new environment, but they do not like feel the challenges, so to speak. One, they pick up the language really, really quickly. You know, my kids picked up the language in about 3 months. I had been here at that point for a couple of years, and I was struggling with the language.
And you're perfect with the D, das, D.
I do not understand how they figured that out, but apparently, you know, they figured it out one way or another. But for me, it was a bit hard because now, you know, I no longer have to take care of just myself. Now I have to take care of an entire family. I have to look out for the kids. I have to look out for the wife that is supposedly, you know, showing that she's strong and everything because she's in a new environment. She doesn't speak the language yet. She's going to the language school. You know, so many things are different. She's no longer with family. For someone that is used to having so much family around, so many people coming in and out, being able to go visit, you know, the mom, the sisters, the aunts, and everyone. And all of a sudden, she's alone. She's really, really alone. She has friends, but when she looks, you know, when all is said and done, she really is alone. And it slowly starts to set in. And if one is not careful, as the family man, if you just, you know, continue to go with the flow, you would miss a lot of things, you know. So one of the biggest hurdle was trying to psychologically fit my wife into her new environment, her new space, and let her understand, okay, this is how things would be going forward, and also, you know, what the expectations are, how she can maybe kind of limit the expectations a little bit, and, you know, go with the flow and understand how things are not get too emotional about so many things that she would see and experience.
So what would you say, which role did maybe community play in navigating this really, I would say, hard transition from coming a really community-based and family-based environment to a place where you and the kids are the only close people?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's, for me, I think it's a bit, I'm trying to fit it in because I'm trying to fit it in properly. The reason for that is because I try to be part of a community. The first place you would really like get the first experience of community is the church, right? And, you know, the first church that I went to, you know, was a Nigerian church, and it's a bit different because even though you think you're a community, when you sit back and you look around, you see that people are doing a lot of things in isolation. The only things that maybe like commonize you are if you're having an event and stuff, but sharing experiences seems to be something that people no longer want to do because maybe that's because their experiences are different, and also considering the fact that prior to the 2012s, 2015s, most of the people that were here came through different means. And the new generation of people that are coming, you know, came in as students. So the experiences kind of differ. So, you know, the ability to like share experiences and benefit from that community is a bit different because if you join that community and you try to glean from them, the experiences you will get will probably not be in tandem with your dreams because you came into Germany, you're studying, you want to get a good job or even start a business and stuff, but you're looking at people where what they are telling you is kind of like limiting your, you know, to you feel like, well.
Do you have an example if you say there?
Okay, so I would say, so let me give you an example. When you're asking questions like, okay, how do I achieve certain goals, right? How do I do some things? And then the kind of examples they will give you, I'm not sure if this is something I want to really share. You know, you would see that it's not really straightforward, but it's what they know. You know, that's the limit of their experience. That's the limit of the exposure because that's what they've allowed themselves to be exposed to. But the funny thing is, if you dig a little bit deeper, do a bit more research, talk to people, you know, that are more knowledgeable. For example, the Germans are the best people to ask about the German system. How do you cope? How, you know, the kind of family support that you get? What are the things that are beneficial for your support, for your family? Those are the best people to ask. you know, apologies, but not a lot of our people, our community, try to make the most of what the country has to offer in terms of family benefit. They only look at a certain part of it. What can I gain from a certain part of it? How can I get money from this? How can I get money from that? And then they lock it up. But the opportunities are endless, so to speak. If you ask questions, you will get answers. Like, for example, you want to start a business, there are grants. If I talk to a fellow African that has been here for maybe 30 years, they'll probably not know anything about the grant.
Do you think it has to do with exposure, or what are from your experiences? What is it that it keeps people in a very familiar environment where they feel comfortable?
Exactly. I think you kind of like answered the question, because people do not like discomfort, and once they've kind of like found their comfort zone where it looks like everything kind of works for them, so to speak, it may not be in largesse, or they may not be expanding their borders, so to speak, but it feels like, okay, I'm comfortable in this space. I think they just kind of relax and limit themselves to that. So if they hear something new, and you ask them about a new discovery that you've made, that, oh, I saw this, I saw that, please, can you advise me about it? They will be like, no, I don't know anything about that. Or they will tell you, oh, the only place to go to is there. A case in point, when my wife came, somebody had told her, because, that she should go to job center. And I told her that, no, you're not going to get anything from job center, because I have a job. I earn salary. The minute they see my payslip, they're going to show you the door. But she didn't understand it, because they kept telling her that is where you go to do this, to do that. And I decided to oblige her. I followed her to job center.
Yeah.
And they were already attending to her as a woman, because of course they like to give women preferential treatment, make sure that women are okay. And then they asked, okay, is that your husband? I said yes. And then they said, do you have a payslip? Do you work? I showed them. And the guy looked at me and like, please, this is not the right place. I did not say anything. My wife just,
It's experience then.
Exactly.
That needs to be made. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I asked the same set of people, okay, so what are the benefits? How can we help my wife integrate more? And they were like, okay, yeah, you can do integrations course. And that was it. The funny thing is, as far back as 2019, she could have easily gone to job center. I said job center, Agentur for Arbeit, and she could have done Weiterbildung, all of those things. But it is we that just came in the 2015, 2016 that are telling the older people that, oh yeah, you could go there and get a good shine to do, or get skilled up in nursing, or in IT, or in whatever it is. And if you've contributed into the society will help you get back on your feet on any level that you want, so that you can then continue to contribute back to the society. But this is a typical example of the information gap between the older generation and the new generation.
Yeah, I think information is key in Germany, and everybody's story is peculiar. Then another thing, like, you've lived in Nigeria like most of your life, I would say. And what did you miss about being in Nigeria as a family man, also comparing to Germany?
Well, I think I already answered that, but to really hit the nail on the head, it's the family communion that you get to have. Before I left Nigeria, this is something I always took for granted. Every year, every Christmas, we all gather at my mom's place. Every member, my brother, my sister, everybody will come with their families, my aunts, everybody will come. It will be a large family gathering. We will socialize, we will eat, be merry, dance, and just have fun, for that day. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, we'll go to my wife's family and have the same beat. But here, every Christmas, we get to invite friends, because everybody is all alone. We feel, okay, maybe it's just best bring everybody together under one roof. And that is, the closest experience we will have to what I, described as family union, family, communion, so to speak. So that is the one thing that I really, really miss the most, and I know, my wife misses that the most. The kids maybe not so much, but yeah, it's been. When I think back about it, you just put it down to the kind of sacrifices that one has to make for the betterment of the kids.
Yeah, true. But yeah, still about your journey here also. I know like during the time you came, like how Germany was compared to now. How, if I'm gonna say, was Germany that open like for foreigners, that much like the integration, even talking about getting jobs and all. I feel like it was really tough at that point compared to now, because when I still speak to people now that came in, they're like, yeah, I think you're actually like, you're flying, I would say, but at that point, it wasn't so easy, I would say. So, what's your experience like you've lived between?
Now, this question is key because the difference between the experiences that we had when we came to Germany, and the experiences that people that are coming the last 2 3 years are having, is the community that we met and the lack of information or lack of exposure that they had back then. Because the minute you land, the first thing they will tell you is that, oh, it's hard to get even a menial job without speaking the language. Once they put that in your head, it's hard to get rid of that. So they will tell you you have to wait till the summer before you can get a job where the language is not really needed and stuff like that. So if it's hard to get a menial job way back then, how would you even be thinking of an office job? Because you're walking into cafes and asking them, please, can I get a job? And they say, kannst du Deutsch sprechen? You don't even know what they're saying. They're like, nein, how's it? So it becomes, it kind of gets stuck in your head that, okay, it's hard. Unlike now, where before you leave Nigeria, you have someone that has told you that, see, this is, if you're into this, skill up in this area, try find a niche. This is the area where that niche is really selling, in Germany. You can find a work student position even before you get here. That the day you get here, even before you leave Nigeria, you're probably working remotely or you've been onboarded or something, that you, by the time they get to Germany, they're already working, they're already in a good frame of mind. They do not have to stress about anything. The difference was completely different back then. For me, what changed my mindset was when I went to visit a friend in Berlin. He did his, we went to the same university in Nigeria, and then he did his master's in France, and then he got a job with Bombardier. I didn't know that he had gotten a job, with Bombardier. I just went to visit him, and then I saw where he was staying. I was like, are you a drug dealer or what? It was the service department, right? Everything, even the elevator was talking to me. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And he said he works Bombardier and stuff. I'm like, what? And then he took us out, was a couple of friends from the same university, took us out. It got to a point that evening, I just told him, please give me the key to your apartment. I need to go home. He said, let me get you a cab or you get a guy. I said, no, I want to walk because I needed to think.
Yeah,
To process,
Yeah.
like,
And then, I was like, wait, so he cannot be the only one, right? He cannot be the only African, that is doing well, because he wasn't like rich, but he was comfortable and he wasn't doing business. He got a job, meaning that even if you don't speak the language perfectly, you can get jobs with your experience.
yeah, true.
And then, I said, okay, no problem. I took my leave, went back to Kiel, where I was studying, and then I applied to Alliance Technology. That was the first and only place I applied to. And we did the interview, and I got the offer. I worked there for almost 2 years. And within those 2 years were the time that I spent studying. And since then, I've been like a campaigner for people applying for internships. I was always sending out jobs to everyone, created different WhatsApp groups. I told everybody, do not listen to what anybody tells you. Even before you leave wherever it is you're coming from, start applying for jobs. If you do not know anything, if you do not have any skills, skill up in one area, because your skills will always be in demand here. You just need to know to apply. And do not worry about the language. Learn, of course, but, be upfront with your level of language skills. Tell them, yeah, this is my level of language skills. I can do this, but show them that you're working towards it. Get yourself enrolled in the language class. Just I guess what Germany needs is for you to show that you're actually working towards, what the end goal is, which is to become fluent in the language and also to have skills that will be useful to anybody, in any organization. And yeah, so that has been the key. The I wish, that when I was coming to Germany, that I met the kind of community or the kind of people with the level of exposure that people have right now. Back then, it would have been much, much easier. But, I guess it's just the way the world works, right?
Yeah, but do you have your own community here where you actually share this information?
Well, I've continued to keep in touch with my university communities, church communities. I've joined different groups, Nigerians in Germany, where we share information, even legal information. For example, people trying to apply for the blue card or different things that they didn't understand what the rules are, or they're getting like some pushback from the Oladapo based on something. And if based on your experience, you know that if you state in your email that, oh, based on this law, this law, this law, I meet all the certain requirements. People do not know some of the simple things. Well, I think it's simple because this is something that I've experienced in the past, right? I've had so much issues with the Oladapo where you just quoting the law, letting them know that you know what the law is and what the criteria are, and you meet all those criteria. It helps solve the problem. Sharing those information, it really helps people. I was also, I found a group where the group is made up of lawyers, legal practitioners, African legal practitioners here in Germany, where if you have any issue, whatever the issue is, they add you to the group, you tell them what the problem is, they give you legal advice, and if it is something that's, you need a lawyer to help you take up, they will tell you, okay, you need to meet a lawyer. This is not something that can just be resolved by an email that we can compose for you or anything. And they can give you a list of different lawyers that are specialized in that area that you can contact. Of course, it's not mandatory that you contact any of those lawyers, but they just try to point you in the right direction. So I've tried as much as possible to stay within that community and also to continue to just lend my 2 cents, so to speak.
Okay, speaking of family again, like I know, like back home in Nigeria, the community also take care of the kids and all. But here is your sole responsibility. So it's like being a full-time dad. No, not a full-time, like a full-time worker and also a full-time dad, I would say. You don't have like in Nigeria, will have like people who come take care of the kids and do some house chores. But now it's just you and your wife that do everything. And how do you cope with all of that?
Well, there's a fair bit of handshaking that goes on with that. You both need to understand what your schedules are, and especially the schedules of the kids, and try to align that with yours. For example, I'm lucky enough to work from home most times, except for days that I have to go to client sites. So I'm at home when the kids get back, and I can go through their schoolwork, homework, get them packed for school the next day regarding the school books and stuff. And my wife can take care of every other thing. Now there are extracurricular activities like football, swimming. We have different time frames. My wife can drive, so sometimes if she's around, she does all the run arounds, and I get to attend to something else. So it's something that you have to come to terms with. You just, there's no two ways around it. You're not going to get any help from anyone. And if your kids, even though here in Germany, it's the kids get start experiencing a certain level of independence from a pretty young age. As an African parent, it's a bit difficult to accept that level of independence for them. Like, you do not want your kids to be, somewhere where you do not know, and you're waiting for them to come back home all tensed up and stuff. But so, it's something where you have to really discuss, and of course put out safeguards. Like, for example, you can have devices on them where you can track, so that it's easy. For example, smartwatches that that have a bit of tracking add-ons on it, or a smartphone that you can control, so that it's not like they have free access to the internet. So you control when they have access to what, but you're able to see where they are and you can read them at any time. So yeah, that kind of helps to balance it a little bit, and yeah, just understanding with the wife that okay, this is what it is. We're not gonna get any help, and we need to do a good job at least, raising the kids.
So what are your plans for the next 10 days? Because your kids are still pretty small. So how do you see yourself and the family in Germany?
Oh, well, because it has become clear that the kids at least have kind of settled into the way things work in Germany. They're okay with school. They're enjoying school actually. Especially considering the fact that we now moved away from the big city to a smaller city. I didn't believe that it will help this much, but it has helped. The differences have been really, 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 really eye opening, because apparently the teachers in the smaller communities can pay a bit more attention to the kids, and they are not always so uptight. I thought that it would be different because I thought in bigger cities, the teachers and they will be more used to seeing other races, right? And in the smaller communities, they wouldn't see so many different races so often. But it's like the opposite is the case, where in the smaller cities, the kind of, at least where we are, they kind of welcome them, paid attention to them, help nurse their skills and everything, encourage them, and it's been. I'm really happy, and the kids are really happy. So it looks like they're settled. So for the long term, at least the kids look like they're gonna be here. They're gonna grow into the culture. Get to learn, continue to develop, and for me, to be honest, I'm not really certain. Of course, for now, nothing has changed. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy that my family is happy. I'm thankful to God, of course, that I and my family are where we are today. So maybe something will change in the next 5 years, 6, 7 years. I do not know, but for now, yeah, I think things have sort of taken the shape that we want them to take, and the kids are kind of following the plan, the roadmap. So I think there's no need to shake the tree. I was just talking with a friend yesterday. When he's married, also we're just talking about spousal relationships and stuff, and it's at first, especially when we just got reunited, right? Because you've not been together for so long, everything is all sparky and stuff. But then it's not just the the relationship is the kind of relationship we have with your partner is as a result of everything else that is going on around you. What's going on outside, what she's experiencing, what's going on with the kids, what she's seeing that the kids are experiencing, how she's feeling about that. For example, she took one of the kids to school one day, came back and started crying. As in, if there's something bigger than crying, I would use that. She was bawling. I was like, what happened? And then she explained what had happened because, all the kids were holding themselves and no one was holding our son, and he was walking all alone. Not even the teacher was holding him. He was just walking all alone at the back. And she felt really sad that, she felt like the kid was kind of like segregated or something like that. It took me a while to calm her down. I felt really pained also, but, no matter what, even though she's not blaming you, the husband, for that, at the back of her mind, she's thinking, why did you bring us here? It's all your fault that that's happening, that the kids are experiencing all of this. And this is going to have a huge impact, on your relationship with each other, right? You may not think that some of these things will kind of like add up, but they do. And they have a really, really big impact on how you approach each other, how you address each other, how you talk to each other. In Nigeria, it's different, right? You can have help if you want. It doesn't cost much to have help in Nigeria to help you sort out a few things, even if the help is not a living help. You can have people come sort you out. But here, you have to do everything alone. And, the supposed African mentality of the man's job is to bring the money home and the wife's job is to take care of the house and everything. that doesn't work. You know, you've got to share everything right down the middle. You've got to help out with cooking if you can. You've got to help out with cleaning. You've got to help out with laundry. You've got to help out with everything. You know, now for some men, that may be a new thing. That may be something completely new for them and it'd be difficult for them to accept. And then it becomes a big issue. But of course, it was an issue for me too because I thought, okay, separate you do all of that, I don't do all of it. But then I'm like, this is just adding more to the emotional trauma that this woman is going through. So wait, let's reassess everything and try to alleviate some of the physical burden that she has, and then maybe we can begin to resolve some of the emotional burden that she has also. And slowly but surely, it has gotten better. We've kind of ironed a few rough edges out, and right now she's enjoying life, a lot more.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you made the decision, you have to own up to it and, live the life. Because I cannot sit back and start reminiscing over the years that have gone by and like say, oh, when I was in Nigeria, things were like this, or when I was single, things were like that. Fine, sometimes you feel so stressed, you're like, maybe, but nah. You're committed to it, so you push through. This is what you're fighting for. This is the end goal, and you have a spouse that's supporting you 100% all the way. There's nothing better than that. The only way to look is ahead.
What's ahead?
That's a perfect wrap up. You summarized it perfectly. What's needed to, make the best out of it, like conscious decision and take
Exactly.
commitment through it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.